The world will not always hand you a grand stage. It will not always offer you the throne, the spotlight, or the thunderous applause. Sometimes it offers you a broom, a paintbrush, a blank journal, a quiet hour before the world wakes up. It hands you a choice to sleepwalk through the ordinary, or to rise and make it extraordinary. Greatness does not knock. It whispers. It hides behind what others dismiss. It dares you to look deeper, to see meaning where others see monotony. It's not in the mountaintop alone. It's in the climb, the scraped knees, the silence when no one's watching, the stillness when no one claps. And that is where most people stop. They wait for the perfect idea, the golden opportunity, the investor, the validation. They think, until I can do something big, I'll do nothing at all. But what they fail to understand is the timeless truth. If you cannot do great things, do small things in a great way. Not someday, today. Your mind is the battlefield. Before you lift a hand, before you speak a word, before your feet hit the floor in the morning, the war is already underway. The enemy is subtle, doubt, distraction, delay. The voice that says, "What's the point?" But understand this, what you feed your mind becomes your fate. Napoleon Hill said, "Whatever the mind can conceive and believe, it can achieve." But belief isn't a luxury. It's a discipline. It's forged in the fire of repetition. When you choose to see meaning in what others ignore, it's the barista who treats every cup like art, the janitor who polishes floors like they're stained glass, the coder, the teacher, the mother, the student, who shows up not because the world is watching, but because they are. Greatness is not talent. It is intention. It is the mindset that says, if this is the only task I ever do, I will do it with such precision, such pride, such presence, that the universe itself will take notice. Belief is not born in comfort. It is born in contradiction, when you have every reason to stop, and still you continue. Edison did not believe in failure. He believed in feedback. 10,000 failed attempts. To him, it was 10,000 lessons. When others saw madness, he saw momentum. And what about you? You don't need the world to believe in you. You don't need applause. You don't need permission. You need one thing, a decision. A decision that no matter how small the step, you will take it with conviction. Because belief is not a thought. It's a pattern. And like steel forged in flame, it strengthens every time you act as if you are capable, as if you are destined, as if the dream is already yours. That's how mountains are moved, not all at once, but one stone at a time, carried by the hands of those who believe the summit is worth it, even if they never see the peak. Clarity is not about knowing every step of the journey. It's about knowing what direction you refuse to face anymore. You don't need the full map. You just need a reason, a north star that cuts through the fog of distraction, a vision that makes your excuses feel small, because without clarity, you'll chase everything and catch nothing. Disney had a vision. When people saw Swampland, he saw a kingdom. When they saw a cartoon mouse, he saw an empire of imagination. That kind of clarity isn't just rare, it's radical. It refuses to settle. It doesn't look for approval. It's not born from what is, it's born from what could be. What do you see? Not what others say is realistic. Not what the market says is trending. Not what your past says is probable. What do you truly see when you close your eyes? That's your vision. Guard it, sharpen it, speak it aloud, and more importantly, build it, one brick at a time, through the greatness of small, deliberate action. Purpose is the fire that never sleeps. When everything else fades, the hype, the dopamine, the novelty, purpose remains. It's what pulls you out of bed when motivation won't. It's what keeps your back straight when the results don't come, and it's never handed to you. It's uncovered like gold beneath the dirt, revealed through sweat, through failure, through movement. Too many people wait for a lightning bolt. But the truth is, purpose is a fire you have to light yourself. Carnegie did not start with steel. He started with curiosity, grit, and vision. He did not inherit purpose. He carved it from stone. The same stone you are standing on now, the raw material of your life, is already here. But it will not shape itself. It waits for your hands, your heart, your hammer. Purpose doesn't mean knowing the end. It means knowing why you begin, and when you build from that place, every step, no matter how small, becomes sacred. Discipline is the bridge between desire and destiny. It is the quiet warrior that shows up when the world is loud. It is the daily, deliberate, unshakable decision to do the work, not when it's easy, but especially when it's not. Not when you're inspired, but when you're exhausted, distracted, discouraged, and still choose to honor the process. Hill wrote, "Persistence is to the character of man as carbon is to steel." But what fuels that persistence? It is discipline, the kind that treats every act like it matters because it does. The kind that shows up to the gym when it's raining. The kind that opens the book when no one is testing you. The kind that smiles at the challenge and then goes one more round. Discipline is not a trait you're born with. It is a muscle you build rep by rep, decision by decision. And every time you choose growth over comfort, effort over ease, intention over impulse, you win. Even if no one sees it yet. Because here's the truth. You do not rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your discipline, and your discipline is your greatness in motion. There is a moment when thought must become motion, when a dream must leave the vision board and enter the world, scarred, imperfect, but real. Action is the lifeblood of transformation. You can have the perfect plan, the right mindset, the boldest belief, but without movement, it dies in theory. Action is what separates the inspired from the impactful. It is the difference between someday and now. Ford didn't just dream of automobiles. He built them, part by part, failure by failure, until the machine ran not only on gasoline, but on relentless will. And that's the truth too many forget. Every small act compounds. Every email sent, every chapter written, every workout finished, every dollar saved, every apology made, every quiet choice to do the thing, even when you're tired, even when no one claps, even when the results don't show, because the results don't come right away. They're buried like seeds under months of dirt and doubt. And most people stop watering right before the sprout breaks through. But you must not stop, because that next small action, that next great small action might be the one that changes everything. Not overnight, but over time. And that's the kind of success that lasts. Gratitude is the secret fuel of endurance. It's not passive. It's not soft. It's not just about writing lists in the morning. It is an active choice to recognize power in the present, to see value in what others overlook, to honor the moment, not just for what it gives you, but for what it teaches you. The man who sees greatness in the small will never be small himself. Abraham Lincoln wrote letters of gratitude in the middle of war. Why? Because he understood something most of us forget, that appreciation sharpens awareness. It strengthens character. It reveals the opportunity hiding inside the obstacle. When you are grateful for the grind becomes lighter. When you are grateful for the lesson, failure becomes your mentor. And when you are grateful for this moment, the one you're living right now, you stop waiting and start building. Every act becomes sacred. Every gesture becomes art, because you've chosen to see the miracle in the mundane, and that is the foundation of legacy. You must learn to bend without breaking, because the road will twist. The plan will change. The market will shift. The people who once believed in you may fall silent. And if your identity is built only on outcomes, you'll fall with them. But when you are rooted in purpose, guided by vision, and powered by action, you become fluid. You evolve. You pivot. You rise. Think of the greatest innovators. Jobs, Musk, Da Vinci, Tesla. They did not build once and sit back. They iterated. They failed. They reimagined. When the door closed, they built a window. When a path disappeared, they forged a new one. Adaptability is not weakness. It's mastery. The ability to stay grounded in purpose while flexible in method. Like water, it yields, but never surrenders. It carves canyons through stone because it never stops flowing. The moment you release the need for everything to go perfectly is the moment you become unstoppable. Because now you're not chasing a perfect moment. You're creating progress in every moment. Life will test you, and the fire is not your enemy. It is your refinement. Resilience is not just getting back up. It's who you become every time you do. It is the quiet force that keeps breathing, keeps fighting, keeps moving. When the odds say stop, it's not just strength, it's sacred defiance. Winston Churchill stood in the ashes of bombed cities and declared, "We shall never surrender." That was not ego. It was resilience in its purest form, the unbreakable spirit that refuses to be defined by circumstance. You will be broken. You will be betrayed. You will lose time, energy, people. You will make mistakes. And you will have every reason to quit. But remember this, your scars are not your shame. They are your symbols, proof that you did not die where others did, that you walked through hell and came back holding wisdom. Resilience is built when you face the storm, not just with courage, but with composure. When you whisper, "I am not done yet," because you aren't. Not now, not ever. Every master was once a fool. Every expert was once overwhelmed. Every genius once said, I don't know. The difference, they kept asking. Learning is the oxygen of greatness. The one thing that will never betray you. The one investment that compounds for life. You can lose the money, lose the platform, lose the title, but you will never lose what you've learned. Andrew Carnegie had mentors. So did Hill. So did Lincoln. So did every person who ever did anything worth remembering. And today, there are more books than ever, more wisdom than ever, more access than ever. But what do people do with it? They scroll, they skim, they nod, and do nothing. But you must go deeper. Make learning a ritual, a sacred act of growth. Read with hunger. Listen with humility. Apply with urgency. Obsess over your own evolution, not just for vanity, but for service. So you can give more, build more, impact more, because here's the truth. The more you grow, the more you can give, and the more you give, the more the world gives back. The question is not whether you will leave a legacy. The question is, what kind? Every day, you etch your story into time, not with grand gestures, but with 1,000 invisible decisions. The way you show up, the tone in your voice, the effort you bring when it's thankless, the grace you offer when it's undeserved. Legacy is not what you leave behind when you die. It's what you build every day you choose to live with intention. And it doesn't begin with millions or medals or magazines. It begins with meaning right where you are. In the moment you choose focus over frenzy. In the second you say, that's enough complaining, I will change. In the hour before sunrise, when you create while others sleep. In the silence where no one sees your effort, but you give it anyway. That is greatness. Not in volume, but in vibration. Not in noise, but in depth, and it echoes far beyond your name into the people you touch, the lives you lift, the standard you set, because legacy is not carved in stone. It is written in soul. At some point, the chase ends. You stop looking outward. You stop comparing. You stop begging the world to tell you who you are, and instead, you listen. You return to yourself. You see the tools you've always had, the strength you forgot, the gift you buried under years of noise, and suddenly you realize you don't need to do great things to become great. You just need to do what is in front of you with unmatched attention, excellence, and soul. Sweep the floor like Da Vinci painted. Write the email like it will be read a century from now. With the love of a poet. Move with the focus of a monk. Lead with the integrity of a giant. Because you are one. You are not your job. You are not your status. You are not your follower count. You are the fire behind your effort, the heart behind your craft, the quiet warrior who turns the ordinary into legacy. When you choose greatness in the smallest of things, you train the world to rise with you. And make no mistake, the world is watching. So now, the moment is yours. Not tomorrow, not next month, not when things calm down. Now, in the stillness of this second, in the breath you are taking right now. The universe is waiting, watching, listening for a soul who will stand up and declare, if I cannot do great things today, I will do small things in a great way. I will sharpen my focus. I will bring pride to the unnoticed. I will pour intention into the forgotten. I will not wait to be crowned. I will crown myself through effort. No more excuses, no more distractions, no more settling, because from this day forward, everything I touch will carry the weight of my greatness. Not someday. Now, this is your life. This is your masterpiece. This is your one chance to rise. So rise with fire in your spirit. Rise with love in your discipline. Rise with purpose in your motion, because greatness was never about being seen. It was about seeing yourself clearly and acting like it. Do not confuse noise for power. Do not mistake spectacle for substance. The world may reward the loudest voice in the room, but history remembers the most unshakable one, the one that kept going when the cameras were off, the one who showed up early, stayed late, and built a foundation while others chased flashes in the sky. That is the root of greatness, not the size of the stage, but the strength of the soul. People will tell you to dream big, and you should. But dreaming means nothing without doing. You can sit in a room surrounded by vision boards and talk about your potential until your breath runs dry. But it's not your potential that defines you. It's what you prove with it. And proving it means doing the small, the slow, the unglamorous. Because behind every monument that reaches the sky is 1,000 hours of invisible labor. Behind every symphony is 1,000 notes played alone in the dark. Behind every overnight success is a decade of showing up when no one was clapping. That's the part they don't post, but that's where it happens. Greatness doesn't arrive with a parade. It begins in silence. It lives in the decision you make when no one is watching. When you treat that small thing, that core, that rep, that phone call, that line of code, like it matters. Because it does. Because you matter. And when you treat the small things like they matter, you begin to matter more to yourself. You build integrity, not the kind that looks good in public, but the kind that can hold up the weight of a dream. You stop chasing external praise because you no longer need it. You become your own standard. You stop asking, how much longer until I make it, and start asking, how much deeper can I go today? There is no finish line. Not for the one who loves the process, not for the one who has tasted the quiet satisfaction of mastery. Look at the craftsmen, the poets, the athlete, the scientists, the teachers, the builders of empires and movements. What do they have in common? Obsession. Obsession not with recognition, but with precision, with growth, with doing the work well, because it deserves to be done well. That is not ego. That is reverence. You want to be great? Start treating your life like it is sacred. Start treating your time like it is holy. Start treating the people you speak to, the work you put out, the hours you spend as if they define you, because they do. Not all at once, but piece by piece. You will not become extraordinary by accident. You will not stumble into greatness like it's a lottery ticket. You will build it slowly, deliberately, painfully, beautifully, out of every single small act that no one else wants to do. And you will do it well. You will do it with care, with pride, with fire in your eyes, even if no one else understands it, because you don't need them to. You are not here to convince people. You are not here to fit in. You are here to carve something eternal out of your time on this earth, to leave behind more than just memories, to leave behind an example of how to live fully, how to give deeply, how to stand unshakably for something that matters, even if it's not flashy, even if it's not profitable, even if it doesn't trend. Let the world chase attention. You will chase excellence. Let the world rush to the top. You will master the bottom. You will plant your roots so deep that no storm can pull you out, so that when your moment comes, and it will, you will be ready. Not because you're lucky, not because you were chosen, but because you earned it. Because you stood in the shadows and built your strength. Because you made your small world beautiful. Because you treated every inch of your path like holy ground. And here's the truth. The universe does not reward the one who yells the loudest. It rewards the one who endures the longest. The one who keeps showing up, keeps refining, keeps building, and never lets the size of their platform dictate the size of their effort. Don't wait to be discovered. Discover yourself. Discover what you're capable of when no one is there to catch you. Discover what happens when you stop shrinking your light just because it doesn't fill the room yet. Discover what happens when you finally decide this moment is enough. This work is worthy. This effort is everything. You have everything you need. You have always had it. You have time. You have breath. You have will. You have vision. You have the gift of this moment, and it is a gift. It is not owed. It is not promised. It is on loan. And what you do with it is up to you. The world will try to make you feel small, but what it forgets is that small does not mean insignificant. Small does not mean powerless. Small is where the giants are born, the habits are formed, the character is tested. Small is the forge. Small is the fire. And if you light it, truly light it, it will burn brighter than anything they've ever seen. So don't ask, how can I be great? Ask, how can I honor this task? How can I lift this person? How can I improve this inch of my life? How can I treat this mundane detail like it's the thing that will echo through eternity? Because maybe it is. Maybe the moment you choose to stay late and do it right, that's the moment that rewrites your future. Maybe the day you choose discipline over distraction, that's the day your story turns. Maybe the morning you choose movement over excuses, that's the morning your legacy begins. And it begins now. No one is coming to save you. No one is coming to push you. That is your job. That is your honor. You are not just building a career. You are not just chasing a goal. You are not just trying to survive. You are building yourself. You are laying bricks for the temple of your future, one action at a time. And every brick counts. Every one. This isn't about hype. It's about holiness. This isn't about a finish line. It's about faithfulness to the process, to your principles, to your purpose. So keep going, keep rising, Keep showing up with dignity, with excellence, with fire, because that small thing you're doing when done with greatness, it becomes the thing. It becomes the seed that grows into a forest, the spark that ignites a movement, the note that starts the symphony, the moment that rewrites your name into something immovable. This is how it happens, not all at once, but right here, right now. One great act at a time. You wake up and everything feels the same. But something inside you knows it can no longer be. You've tasted the hunger. You've felt the frustration, the whisper that says, there's more than this. There's something greater waiting, not out there, not later, but within you, right now. And yet, most will ignore that voice. They'll silence it with distraction, numb it with entertainment, drown it with excuses. Because if they acknowledged it, they'd have to act. They'd have to confront the truth that nothing changes until they do. But you are not most people. You are the rare soul who stops running from the voice, who sits with it, faces it, listens to what it demands, and then begins. Not with grand proclamations, not with perfect timing, but with presence, with one clear decision. I will not waste this life. You want to be more, then be more, not someday. Now, in the smallest, most unglamorous corner of your life, clean your desk with reverence. Speak with kindness when you're tired. Answer that message you've been avoiding. Lift your head when the weight tries to bend you, because that's where the transformation lives. Not in explosive breakthroughs, but in subtle alignment, in your ability to bring excellence to what others treat as invisible. Anyone can act motivated when it's easy, but how you move when it's dull, when it's tedious, when it's uncomfortable, that's what sets you apart. That's what sculpts your identity. And identity is everything. You don't rise to the level of your dreams, you fall to the level of your standards. And if your standards are low, your outcomes will be too. Raise them, even if no one notices, especially if no one notices. This is your real work, because every act of excellence, no matter how small, is a declaration of worth. It's a rebellion against mediocrity. It's a vote for the person you are becoming. You want more energy? Then move. You want more clarity? Then simplify. You want more confidence? Then follow through. There is no secret. There is only the moment in front of you, and what you choose to do with it. You were not built to float. You were not built to be average. You were not built to coast. You were built to build, to lead, to shape your world with intention. But that requires responsibility, and responsibility isn't glamorous. It's grounding. It's the willingness to say, even if it's not my fault, it is my problem, because until you own it, you can't change it. And the moment you take ownership of your choices, your reactions, your habits, your focus, everything shifts. Suddenly, you're no longer a passenger. You're the driver, and the road is yours. Does that mean it will be easy? Absolutely not. You will face resistance. You will face fear. You will face failure. But here's the secret. All of it is the path. Resistance, that's your signal that you're doing something that matters. Fear, that means you're growing. Failure, that's the tuition of greatness. So stop waiting for the fear to go away. It won't. Stop waiting for perfect confidence. It never arrives. Stop waiting for clarity. Clarity comes from motion, not before it. The ones you admire, the ones who built legacies, who shifted industries, who lived lives that meant something. They didn't start with guarantees. They started with grit, with vision, with a willingness to do the work before the world cared. And that's what you must do. Because if you only work when you're certain, if you only act when you're supported, if you only give effort when it's exciting, then you are not committed to the dream. You are addicted to comfort. And comfort is the slowest death there is. So disrupt it. Break your own rhythm. Wake yourself up. There's a fire inside you and you've let it smolder for too long. Stoke it. Feed it. Trust it. You don't need permission. You don't need perfection. You don't need more time. You just need to begin here, now, in the middle of your imperfect life, and begin with intention. Every step you take toward your highest self makes it easier to take the next. Every choice to rise strengthens the part of you that never settles. You may not see the payoff today. You may not feel the shift tomorrow. But if you persist, if you bring greatness to the small, if you stay faithful to the moment, the compound effect will turn your effort into momentum and your momentum into legacy. And one day, not far from now, you'll look back and realize it was never about doing one great thing. It was about doing small things in a great way. And that changed everything. The world will look at you and say it happened overnight. But you'll know the truth. They didn't see the early mornings, the late night, the effort that didn't post well. They didn't see the times you doubted yourself, but still did it anyway. They didn't see the days you worked in silence. No praise, no feedback, just belief. They won't understand that your success wasn't a moment. It was a series of decisions, stacked, compounded, repeated. You see, people think greatness is a destination, but it's not. It's a decision, one made again and again and again. Greatness isn't built in a day, it's built every day. Every small task you complete with excellence, it sharpens you. Every promise you keep to yourself, it fortifies you. Every time you rise when you'd rather quit, it hardens your resolve. And eventually, you become someone that nothing can break. Not rejection, not delay, not failure. You become unshakable because you've built yourself brick by brick in the quiet, in the dark, in the mundane. While everyone else waited for inspiration, you acted on commitment. And that's the key. Inspiration is fleeting. Commitment is forever. So keep committing, not to the outcome, but to the process. Keep showing up for the work. Keep honoring the details. Keep choosing discipline over distraction. Because the future you want doesn't respond to what you wish for. It responds to what you work for. Your legacy will not be built by what you feel like doing. It will be built by what you do regardless of how you feel. So the question becomes, will you do the work? Will you bring your full self to the moment? Will you rise again and again and again until you forget how to quit? Because when you do, when you become a person who shows up regardless, that's when the world moves for you. That's when you tap into something deeper than motivation. That's when you become dangerous, not to others, to limitation, to the old version of you who thought small didn't matter, to the old beliefs that said you're not ready, to the fears that whispered you'll never be enough, because now you know better. Now you've seen the power of doing small things in a great way, and you will never go back. Because now you carry proof in your bones, proof that change isn't a lightning strike. It's a spark that catches fire through repetition, through courage, through the will to rise without applause. Every habit you've rebuilt, every decision you've remade when it would have been easier to fold. These are not minor acts. They are revolutions, quiet ones. And the world is changed by quiet revolutions. You are no longer a dreamer watching from the bleachers. You are in the arena, scarred, yes, tired maybe, but alive, awake, and dangerous to the lie that says you are powerless. That lie dies every time you act despite doubt. That lie dies when you choose growth over pride. That lie dies when you no longer wait to be chosen, but choose yourself. And isn't that what this was always about? Not just achievement, not just accolade, but freedom. The freedom that comes from knowing you are no longer controlled by moods or noise or fear. You act from something deeper, something built, something owned. This is self-mastery, and self-mastery is the root of all creation. You cannot lead others until you've learned to lead yourself. You cannot command the world until you've first commanded your thoughts. And you cannot live fully, not truly, until you've proven to yourself that you are worthy of the life you seek. Not because someone told you so, because you became so. And how did you become it? By showing up, by doing the thing, by facing the discomfort, the boredom, the repetition, and doing it anyway. By building your house on discipline instead of desire. Desire is a gust of wind. Discipline is a foundation. And every single day that you choose that foundation, even when no one's watching, you are building something unshakable. You are becoming someone the world can't ignore. Not because you scream the loudest, but because you are the most consistent, the most committed, the most clear. And that clarity, that fire will touch everything you do. Your relationship, your work, your voice, your choices. Because once you demand greatness from yourself, even in the smallest details, you stop tolerating anything less, and others will feel it without you saying a word. It's in the way you walk into a room. It's in the way you honor your word. It's in a way you do the little things like they're everything, because to you, they are. You've learned the truth. If you cannot do great things, do small things in a great way. And when you do enough small things in a great way, the great things start to come to you. You don't chase them. You earn them. You attract them by who you've become. You no longer run after purpose. You embody it. Because purpose is not a destination. It's a posture. It's how you show up to life, even when no one's clapping. It's how you respond to failure, to friction, to fatigue. It's the look in your eyes when you've been knocked down and you get back up anyway, and people will wonder how you did it. They'll ask for tactics, for tools, for strategies. But the real answer is simpler, deeper. You did the work. You respected the moment. You moved through the discomfort. You didn't wait to be inspired. You acted from commitment. And now that commitment has built a life you no longer need to escape from. Now when you look in the mirror, you don't see a person who just hopes. You see a person who builds, who decides, who executes. You see someone who understands that life isn't about the size of your dreams. It's about the size of your follow-through. And that's what you've earned, not just success, but sovereignty. Because when you commit to greatness in the small, you rise beyond circumstance. You no longer depend on motivation or validation or ease. You are moved by something greater. A mission, a vision, a knowing that the best version of you is not found in the spotlight, but in the shadows where no one's watching. That's where champions are made, not in the moments that count, but in the moments that prepare you to count. So keep going. Keep choosing the hard right over the easy wrong. Keep bringing your whole self to every breath, every choice, every step. And when the day comes that others see your light and call it lucky, smile, because you'll know the truth. It wasn't luck, it wasn't timing, it was you, doing small things in a great way every single day until greatness could no longer ignore you, until it had no choice but to reveal itself, not as a reward, but as a reflection, a mirror held up to the person you had already become, long before the world noticed. You see, greatness never arrives with fanfare. It's earned in solitude. It's forged in those invisible hours where you battle not the world, but yourself. The part of you that wants to cut corners, the part of you that whispers, no one will know, the part that says, this doesn't matter, but you knew better. You saw what most people never will, that how you do anything is how you do everything. So you chose to care, even when it was inconvenient. You chose to be excellent, even when it was exhausting. You chose to give more than was asked, not because anyone demanded it, but because that's who you are now. And that is power, because power isn't noise, power is discipline, power is control, power is restraint. It's the quiet storm inside you that says, no matter what happens, I will not break. You've become a force, not a momentary spark, but a sustained flame. And that flame will light the way, not just for you, but for others. Because whether you realize it or not, someone is watching. Someone is learning what's possible by watching you refuse to quit. Someone is finding their courage by seeing how you rise from your stumble. Someone is starting to believe because you chose to believe first. That is the ripple of greatness. That is the legacy of those who live with purpose. They don't just achieve, they inspire achievement. They don't just win, they elevate everyone around them, and they do it not with bravado but with consistency. Not with grand speeches, but with quiet proof. The proof of someone who decided, if I cannot do great things, I will do small things in a great way, and that will be enough. And now you see the paradox. It was never small, none of it. That decision to show up one more day, not small. That moment you chose focus over escape, not small. That extra rep, that deeper breath, that honest conversation, that pause before reacting, none of it was small. Because those moments shaped you. They sculpted a version of you who is no longer tossed by the tides of emotion, but anchored in principle. A version of you who walks through storms without asking for the weather to change. A version of you who understands that greatness is not something you pursue. It's something you practice, and that practice has become who you are. This is your life now, a life of intent, a life of direction, a life where each moment is an opportunity to build, to refine, to rise, no longer ruled by circumstance, no longer driven by impulse, but grounded, awake, unshakable. And it started with a single choice, a quiet vow whispered when no one was listening. I will not waste this. I will make this matter. And you did, and you will, because this is only the beginning. There is more to build, more to become, more lives to touch, more layers of your potential to uncover. And you will meet every next level of yourself with the same fire that brought you here. One breath at a time, one choice at a time, one small thing, done in a great way, again and again, until your life becomes living proof that there is no such thing as small when it's done with purpose. And one day, when others ask how you built a life that commands respect, that echoes with impact, that radiates power, you'll smile and say, I just did the work. I showed up. I honored the moment. I did what mattered, even when it didn't seem to matter. And in that moment, they'll understand. They'll see it too, that the smallest things, when done with greatness, are what build a life no one can ignore. Because when you live that way, when every action is laced with intention, with integrity, with presence, you stop waiting for the extraordinary and you start creating it. You stop asking for permission. You stop chasing validation. You start acting like someone who knows that time is not owed. It is earned. You start walking like every step carries weight. You speak like your words are tied to your name. You carry yourself as if every room is better because you walked into it, not out of ego, but out of a deep, unshakable respect for the responsibility you now hold to be a standard, not just for what you do, but for how you do it. That's what separates the ordinary from the unforgettable. That's what turns people into leaders, not titles, not status, not applause, but behavior. Quiet, consistent, undeniable behavior. And you've chosen that. You've chosen the longer road, the one without shortcut, the one paved in sweat, not in secrets, the one that demands more of you and gives more in return. Because everything you want, it's already here, waiting for you to rise into the person who can carry it. Not wishfully, not halfway, but fully, unapologetically, relentlessly. You don't get what you wish for. You get what you are willing to become. And that becoming, that's the journey, that's the fire, that's the hard truth most won't tell you. Success isn't something you stumble into. It's not a lucky break. It's not about who you know or what you have. It's about whether you are willing to do what most people won't. To stay longer in the silence, to be faithful with the unseen, to be excellent when it's inconvenient. Because if you're only great when it's easy, then you're not great. You're comfortable, and comfort is the silent assassin of potential. It lulls you, it flatters you, it talks you out of the life you were born to live, but not you, not anymore. You felt the sting of mediocrity, and you rejected it. You've stood at the edge of who you were and chose not to retreat, but to reach. And now you rise, not in the eyes of others, but in your own, because nothing is more powerful than being able to look at yourself in the mirror and say, I earned this. Every step, every scar, every breakthrough, I earned this. And when you say that from your soul, no one can take it from you, because it was never given to you. It was built with time, with pain, with grace, with the kind of daily discipline that few ever master, but all admire. And that's what you carry now, not just result, but reputation. The reputation of someone who finishes, someone who executes, someone who doesn't just dream about a better life, but builds it. And now when you walk into the future, you do it like someone who belongs there, because you do. You've paid the price in silence. You've done the work without applause. You've sown the seeds in the dark, and now the harvest is coming. So stand tall, not in arrogance, but in alignment with the person you've become, with the path you've chosen, with the fire that refuses to go out. And understand this. No matter how far you go, the formula never changes. It's not about waiting for the perfect moment. It's about making this moment perfect by showing up fully, faithfully, fierce, because the dream is real, but only if you are. And you are proof that greatness doesn't begin in the spotlight. It begins in the shadows. That legacy isn't written in public. It's carved in the unseen. That power doesn't come from what you have. It comes from what you honor. And you've chosen to honor every step, every breath, every detail. So keep going. The world hasn't seen the full weight of who you are yet, but they will, because small things, when done in a great way, do not stay small for long. They become momentum, they become culture, they become identity, and in the end, they become the very thing the world calls overnight success. But you'll know the truth. You were never chasing greatness. You were becoming it, and what a quiet, relentless, unstoppable becoming it was, not forged in spotlight, but in solitude, not driven by noise, but by clarity, not built in leaps, but in layers. One disciplined act, one focused breath, one intentional choice, stacked on the next, like bricks in a fortress. The world could not shake. You didn't need to be loud. You didn't need to be seen. Because you weren't building a moment, you were building a life defined by consistency, a life armored in resilience, a life that does not rise and fall with the tides of convenience, but one that sails forward in storm or calm because the captain you is unmoved. You chose the work, and the work remade you. It stripped away the need to prove and replaced it with the power of knowing. It buried the excuses and revealed the essence, your courage, your values, your will. You didn't just rewrite your habits, you rewired your identity. And that is the real shift. Because now, discipline is no longer something you do, it's who you are. Integrity is not an act, it's your instinct. Vision is no longer a distant dream, it's the lens through which you see everything. That's why nothing is the same anymore. Not the way you speak, not the way you walk into a room, not the way you handle adversity or pressure or failure. Because when others flinch, you focus. When they hesitate, you execute. When they seek comfort, you seek growth. That is what greatness looks like. Not perfection, but progress. Not applause, but alignment. Not dominance, but mastery. Mastery of self. Mastery of choices. Mastery of how you respond when life doesn't go as planned, because life won't always go as planned. But you don't need perfect conditions. You've trained in the storm, you've practiced in the dark, and because of that, you can perform in the light. You can lead when others freeze. You can carry weight that others drop. You can stay steady when others spiral. Because while they waited for a reason to rise, you built the reason. And it wasn't grand, it wasn't flashy, it was small, deliberate, daily. And that's what made it indestructible. That's what made it yours, because nothing given lasts. But what is earned, no one can take. You've earned this mindset. You've earned this energy. You've earned this life that now reflects not your dreams, but your decisions. And here's the beauty. You're still just getting started, because once you realize the process is the point, there is no finish line, only a deeper level, a higher standard, a clearer purpose. Now you rise not just for yourself, but for something greater, for the people who count on your consistency, for the mission you refuse to abandon, for the standard you embody, whether eyes are on you or not. That's the final transformation. You are no longer doing the work. You are the work. Your very presence is an act of discipline. Your decisions are a message. Your life is a lesson in what's possible when someone chooses to master the moment, not once, but always. And while the world may chase speed, you move with depth. While they look for hacks, you build habit. While they seek ease, you choose excellence. You don't need to be motivated. You don't need to be reminded, because this is who you are now, the one who takes the stairs when others search for elevators, the one who sharpens the blade when others let it dull, the one who refuses to coast when they're already ahead, because being ahead isn't the goal. Being aligned is, and alignment is maintained in the smallest, most invisible, most sacred of actions. How you do the mundane, how you protect your peace, how you treat people when there's nothing to gain. This is greatness. This is legacy. This is the power that comes when you've proven, not to the world, but to yourself, that you can be trusted with the moment. And that is everything, because when the moment comes that demands your strength, your clarity, your leadership, you will not need to rise to the occasion. You'll simply return to your standard. And your standard is greatness. One choice at a time, one breath at a time, one small thing done in a great way. And no matter how far you go, you'll carry that truth like a compass. You don't have to do great things to be great. You just have to never stop doing small things in a great way. And if that is your compass, then purpose will always be your path. Because the world doesn't change when you conquer mountains. It changes when you commit to every step it takes to get there. When you choose excellence, not once but constantly, in silence, in obscurity, in the face of fatigue and doubt and boredom. That's where the real magic happens. Not in the noise of achievement, but in the silence of effort. Not in the finish line, but in the million invisible moments before it. And the longer you walk this path, the more you understand success is not something that explodes. It accumulates, it builds, one action at a time, until even the smallest of efforts becomes a tidal force that nothing can resist. That's how leaders are made. That's how cultures are changed. That's how legacies are written, not in the volume of what's done, but in the vibration of how it's done. That's your legacy now, not loud but felt, not declared but demonstrated, not forced but earned. And when the time comes, when others look at what you've built, what you've become, they won't remember every detail. They won't know all the sacrifices, but they will feel something different about you. They'll feel the weight of your presence, the energy of someone who never negotiated with their potential, the calm of someone who walked through fire and never let it consume them, the certainty of someone who never chased greatness because they embodied it, not by accident, not by luck, but by intention, by choosing day after day to live like it all mattered. Because it did. It always did. That's the secret. Most they think the small is separate from the great, that the ordinary is separate from the legacy. But there is no separation. There never was. It's the way you show up when no one's watching that shapes how the world watches you. It's the way you speak when no one's listening, that determines what people hear when you lead. It's the way you treat the smallest task that defines how you will handle the biggest opportunity. That's the code. That's the truth. And you cracked it. You didn't wait for life to give you permission. You gave yourself the permission to rise, to refine, to rebuild, to become. And the beauty is, you never needed to be the best. You only needed to be better than who you were yesterday. To show up, honest, clear, consistent, and do that again and again until improvement became your identity and purpose became your pace. And look what that created. Not just results, but radiance. Not just growth, but gravity. You become someone who pulls people upward just by being you. Not because you shouted, but because you showed up. Not because you demanded it, but because you demonstrated it. And now, whether the world is watching or not, you lead not from behind a podium, but from behind your principles, not with a title, but with your walk. Because your life is no longer built on potential. It is built on proof. Proof that you honored the work. Proof that you didn't wait for greatness. You became it in the smallest ways imaginable until it couldn't be ignored. And from here, there is no ceiling, only refinement, only mastery, only the endless opportunity to meet every moment with more presence, more clarity, more conviction. Because now you don't wonder if you can. You know you can. You know the formula. You know the path. You know the power of the smallest hinge turning the biggest door. So you keep turning it every day with grace, with grit, with greatness. And maybe the world will one day call you a leader, a success, a legend, but none of that will ever mean more than the quiet truth that only you will know, that you were willing to do what others wouldn't, that you chose to live every day as a message, and that message was simple, unstoppable, undeniable. If I cannot do great things, I will do small things in a great way, and that will be enough. And it was, and it is, and it always will be. Because once you've tasted what it means to live that way, fully engaged, deeply present, wholly responsible, there is no going back. You can't unsee what clarity has shown you. You can't unfeel the strength that came from consistency. You can't unknow the power that lives in your own hands. This is where you've arrived. Not a destination, but a new dimension of self. A level where average feels foreign, where compromise tastes like poison, where procrastination isn't a mistake, it's a betrayal. Because you now understand that the smallest act done with excellence creates a ripple that travels farther than you can see. You answer emails with intention. You hold doors with dignity. You clean your workspace as if it's your temple, not because any of those things on their own are life-changing, but because you are, and everything you touch reflects that truth. That's what greatness is. It's not a moment of victory. It's a lifestyle of intention. It's the choice to be fully alive in the now, not waiting for permission, perfection, or applause. It's knowing that every moment is your canvas, and you are not the spectator. You are the artist. And your brush, it's made of action, not theory, not talk. Action, that sacred bridge between the world that is and the world that could be. And you walk that bridge daily, with faith, with fire, with a commitment that refuses to expire, because you know this. The future isn't some far-off place. The future is now. It's built in what you do when no one is checking. It's shaped by how you treat time when no one is watching. It's written by how you face your fears when no one is applauding. This is what separates the ones who wish from the ones who win. Not talent, not timing, tenacity, that deep, indestructible decision that says, I will not stop. Not when it's hard, not when it's slow, not when it's lonely. I will show up because I said I would. And that promise to yourself, that's sacred. You've made that vow, and now you live it, not just in the big chapters, but in the commas, the pauses, the in-between spaces where most people lose themselves. Not you. You thrive in the unseen. You shine in the slow burn, because you know that the fire that burns slow burns long. And you're not here for flashes. You're here for forever. You're here to live in a way that makes your name echo through every room you never enter. Not because of fame, but because of the impact you made on the few who then touched the many. You're here to lead without needing a stage, to serve without needing credit, to win without needing to crush anyone else, because your competition, it's not them, it never was. It's the old you, the distracted you, the reactive you, the version of yourself who thought greatness was reserved for the chosen, not built by the committed. But now you know, and knowing isn't enough, so you act. You act when you're tired. You act when you're doubted. You act when it would be easier to do anything else, and that's where the power compounds. That's where the invisible begins to become inevitable. That's where your name starts to mean something, not just to others, but to you. Because every day, through small acts done in a great way, you're telling yourself the same story. I am the kind of person who shows up. I am the kind of person who honors the details. I am the kind of person who is becoming the future I once feared. And now the only thing left is this. Keep going, not because you have to, because you get to. You get to keep building. You get to keep showing others what's possible. You get to keep rising into your potential and beyond it, because this journey doesn't end with achievement. It deepens with alignment. And as long as you are aligned with truth, with purpose, with discipline, you are unstoppable. So keep moving. Keep creating. Keep being the example, not the echo. Keep doing the small things in the only way you know how now, in a great way. And if ever you doubt the value of that, if the world gets loud, if the results take longer, if the praise goes silent, remember, the work is the reward. The act of showing up fully when you could have checked out, the choice to stay rooted when distraction pulled hard, the decision to create, to serve, to give, when no one was watching, that is the gold, because there is no external victory that can match the power of internal mastery. There is no applause louder than the quiet voice inside whispering, you did what you said you would. That's where peace lives. That's where confidence is born, not from hype, but from evidence. You've built evidence. Through your habit, through your consistency, through every mundane choice you elevated into meaning. And now that voice inside, it no longer questions, it commands. It says, we keep going. Not from ego, from ethos. The code you live by now is stitched into your actions. It bleeds into everything you touch. It's why even in your stillness, there's strength. Even in your silence, there's certainty. Because when you live with alignment, you don't need to convince. You carry the truth. And the world responds to that. Not always right away, but inevitably. Because energy doesn't lie. And your energy, your state, your standard, your presence, it tells a story louder than words ever could. It tells the world, this person shows up. This person owns it. This person doesn't need perfect conditions because they bring greatness with them everywhere they go. And maybe the path is still long. Maybe the summit is still hidden in cloud. But that doesn't shake you because you're not driven by sight. You're driven by vision, by the knowing that every step is shaping you into someone worthy of what's on the other side. And when you arrive, you won't be surprised because you didn't find it. You became it. The future didn't choose you, you built it. And every setback, you turned it into strength. Every delay, you turned it into discipline. Every failure, you turned it into fuel. Because that's who you are now. Not someone who hopes it will happen. Someone who makes it happen. Not by force, by flow, that sacred rhythm of consistency and intention, that steady heartbeat of someone who doesn't need big moves because their small ones are made with purpose. You walk slower now, but with power. You speak softer, but with depth. You need less, but you give more. Because you've emptied yourself of what doesn't serve to become filled with what does. Gratitude. Gret. And from that place, you lead, not with command, with example. You don't try to inspire. You can't help but inspire. Because when people see you move, when they see how you live, they feel it. This is someone who means it. This is someone who has become what others only talk about. And the truth is, you didn't do anything miraculous. You just didn't stop. You kept rising when it didn't feel good. You kept honoring the work when no one clapped. You kept becoming when the world was busy pretending. And that's the difference. That's the legacy. Not built in explosions, but in echoes. Echoes of excellence in every detail. Echoes of character in every interaction. Echoes of discipline in every decision. And now you echo in the hearts of others, not with noise, but with meaning. You've become a mirror. When people look at you, they see what's possible for themselves. That is the highest calling. That is the real impact. That's the purpose behind the purpose. To live in a way that awakens others, not by preaching, but by being. So continue. Continue to be the one who makes presence louder than performance, who makes character louder than charisma, who makes commitment louder than excuses. Because one day, maybe years from now, someone will tell you, I watched you, and because you didn't quit, I didn't either. And in that moment, you'll realize it was never just about you. It was always about who you could become, so others could believe in who they might become too. And how did it all start? Not with a breakthrough, not with a miracle, but with a decision to do small things in a great way, again and again, until greatness was no longer something you chased. It was simply who you were, and now that you are that, not just doing the work, but being the work, you see the world differently. You don't crave ease, you crave depth. You don't seek shortcuts, you seek substance. You don't idolize perfection, you revere progress, because you've learned the hard way, the honest way, that the real reward isn't out there in the trophy, the title, or the validation. The real reward is the person you had to become in order to deserve it. And that person, they are forged in obscurity. They are built in silence. They are carved in mornings no one sees, decisions no one understands, and sacrifices no one applauds, but they're built nonetheless. And now you are that person. You are the result of 10,000 invisible choices, not glamorous, not flashy, not famous, but great, because greatness isn't always seen, it's felt. It's the way you walk into a room with presence, the way you speak with clarity, listen with intention, move with purpose. It's the gravity you carry, not because of who's watching, but because of who you are. And what you've built within you is unshakable, because you didn't build it for show. You built it to serve your future, to serve your purpose, to serve the people who will never know your name, but will feel your impact. That's legacy, not being remembered, but being reverberated. Like a stone dropped into still water, you create ripples that move long after you're gone. And those ripples, they start now, with what you do today, with how you show up now, because this moment, this quiet, ordinary, forgettable moment, is a seed. And what you plant now, you harvest later. So ask yourself, what seeds are you sowing today? Are they seeds of distraction, doubt, delay, or are they seeds of discipline, clarity, and conviction? Because your future isn't built in the distance, it's built in this exact breath. This is the place where champions are born, in the unseen, uncelebrated, unglamorous hours that most skip over, but not you, because you know what you do when no one is watching is who you are, and you become someone who doesn't wait for motivation. You don't beg for inspiration, you create it. With movement, with meaning, with a mindset rooted in responsibility, not reaction. So when the storm hits, and it will, you won't shrink. You'll center. You'll remember who you are, what you've built, and why it matters. And while others chase comfort, you'll lean into courage. While others freeze in fear, you'll rise in faith. Because this isn't just a routine to you anymore, it's your ritual. This isn't just effort, it's expression. This is how you pray, how you speak to the future, how you honor the divine potential stitched into your soul. And the world might never give you an award for that, but it will give you something greater: alignment, peace in your gut, fire in your chest, and the quiet knowing every single day that you are living on purpose, not by accident, not by default, but by design. Your design. You architected this, you sculpted this path with discipline, carved it with consistency, and walked it with relentless intention. And now, every day is a masterpiece, not because it's perfect, but because you show up for it perfectly, fully, authentically, relentlessly. So keep sculpting, keep chiseling, keep crafting a life that reflects not just your goals, but your gift. Because there are people waiting to feel what it's like to be in the presence of someone who means it, someone who lives it, someone who doesn't just dream, but does. And when they meet you, they'll feel it instantly, that here stands a person who made a vow to excellence and never broke it. Not once, not ever, because that's who you are now. You are not the product of your environment. You are the creator of it. You don't adapt to mediocrity. You elevate the room. And whether that room is a boardroom, a coffee shop, a living room, or a space only you occupy, it gets better when you walk in. Not because you demand it, because you are it. So let the world do what it does. Let others chase trends and noise. You stay rooted. You stay steady. You stay focused on the one thing that has never failed you. Doing small things in a great way, over and over, and over and over, until the world doesn't have to wonder who you are, because you've already become it, loudly, quietly, unmistakably. And from here something begins to shift, not in the world, but in you. There is no more chasing, no more waiting for the breakthrough, no more hoping that one day someone or something will arrive to change everything, because you now realize you were the arrival, you were the moment you were waiting for. And when you finally stood still, when you faced the mirror without filters, without lies, without the crutches of excuse, you saw what was always there, quietly waiting to be remembered, a force, a flame, a presence not dependent on external proof, but anchored in internal truth. You are no longer seeking validation. You are no longer driven by proving them wrong. You are now fueled by proving yourself right. Write about the vision. Write about the quiet hours. Write about the integrity of doing what others consider too small, with excellence they never imagined. Because you know now, greatness was never out there. It was always inside you, quietly growing in the soil of discipline, watered by struggle, strengthened by solitude. And now it blooms, not suddenly, but surely. It unfolds in your posture, calm, confident, grounded, in your words deliberate, meaningful, rare, in your eyes clear, unshaken, fierce with quiet fire. And the people around you, they feel it. Even if they can't explain it, they feel the gravity you carry, the peace that walks with you, the unbreakable presence of someone who has done their inner work. And that presence, it is a gift, not just for you, but for everyone you touch. Because when you rise, when you live in alignment, when you become the living proof that greatness doesn't require noise, you become a mirror for others. You show them what's possible. You show them how to live, not loud, but true. And that, more than any wealth, status, or spotlight, that is the impact that echoes. That is the legacy that lasts. And make no mistake, your legacy is not some future thing. It's what you leave in people, not after you're gone, but while you're still here. It's the feeling they carry after a conversation with you. It's the shift they feel after watching you move, build, speak, live with honor. Because that's what it is now. Honor. Honor in how you do everything. Honor in how you carry yourself, even when no one's around. Honor in how you treat your time, not like it's infinite, but like it's sacred. And when you live that way, something rare begins to happen. You stop being pulled by the world. You start pulling the world toward you. Opportunities come not because you chase, but because you attract. People show up, not because you sell yourself, but because they feel the truth you live. And challenges, you don't fear them anymore. You welcome them. You see them now for what they are, the sharpening stone for your blade, the wind that tests the roots of your conviction, the invitation to go deeper, to grow stronger, to rise higher, because you no longer ask for things to be easy. You ask for the strength to remain excellent when they're not. And that's why you win. You win because you don't need it to look good to do good. You win because you don't need applause to move forward. You win because you no longer live for what it gets you. You live for what it makes you. And that makes you dangerous. Not to people, to patterns, to limitation, to mediocrity, to the invisible ceilings that used to keep you playing small. You've shattered those, not with noise, but with your standard. Because your standard now is sacred. It's not negotiable. It's not seasonal. It's not based on mood, motivation, or momentum. It's based on identity. And your identity, it's built, not by accident, by design, not from hype, from habit, not by trying to impress the world, but by impressing one person, the version of you that knows what you're truly capable of. That version watches you now, not with judgment, but with pride, because you've become what they dreamed of. And you're still going, still moving, still showing up with reverence for the moment, with discipline for the mission, with quiet fire in your eyes, because this story you're writing, it's not done. The chapters ahead are deeper, richer, more meaningful, not because they're bigger, but because you are. Because now you don't need the world to see your greatness. You just need to keep being it every day. In the quiet, in the grind, in the ordinary, doing what you've always done in the only way you now know how. Small things, great way, no compromise, no turning back.